Hey everyone, I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories, shall we? I hope you enjoy them. If you do, please don't forget to hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps. The first story is called Just Following the Policy. I work at a local supermarket as a low-wage cashier, and this happened at the beginning of this year. Our supermarket chain decided that in 2020 there should be fewer people on the work floor because they wanted to reduce wage costs. Now that wouldn't be such a bad idea if they didn't apply it to busy days, and I work on busy days. You should also know that at my supermarket we have a rule. The fourth person in waiting line gets all their stuff in the basket completely for free unless all regular checkouts are occupied. In our supermarket there are 3 regular checkouts, but usually they are not all occupied. It was a busy Saturday and I was the only one behind a checkout. My boss is currently working and also another fellow employee. It's around 10 AM and usually it gets really busy around 10 AM and 12 PM. There are 3 customers at my checkout and I start to get a bit nervous and ask through my earpieces that somebody needs to open up another checkout. My boss, nice boss, I don't have any grudge against her, tells me that everything is fine. Alright then, everything is fine. It gets even busier and there are now 5 or 6 people at my checkout. My boss is dealing with self-scanner customers and the other employee is at a separate checkout. I tell my boss that someone really needs to open up a new checkout or I'm going to have to start handing out free goods to everyone. She tells me not to and just send people to an empty checkout. This works well, cause most people in my city are not even aware of the fourth in line rule, so it's a good way to prevent giving away free products. Alright then, I sent customer number 4 through now 7 to an empty checkout. New customers are now taking the places of the people who I just sent away and they start looking mad at me, understandable. After a couple of minutes, still nobody has opened the other checkout because they were also handling a lot of people. I decide to just follow the policy and give people what they are entitled to. Sir, did you know you were the 4th in line? 4th in line gets everything for free, so here you go. I scan the next product. Miss, everything here is free, have a wonderful day. The next person comes. I scan the products. Everything is free. Have a nice day. I still had to scan the products, but it actually gets rid of the queue really fast because I'm quite good at scanning everything fast. It's just that a lot of people in the city are elderly who are really slow at paying and packing up. Either they can't see the numbers well or they don't remember the number combination for their card. I also gave the people who I sent away and came back everything for free. After the whole thing, my boss asked me why I was giving everyone everything for free and I simply stated that I'm following the rules. But I told you to send them to an empty checkout. Yes, and they came back to me because nobody was going to open a checkout. Then she walked away mad, probably because they just lost a bunch of money. Now they have decided that more people should be working on busy days and I'm glad. I also hope those customers enjoyed their free products. The next story is called Eye for an Eye. During the summer of 2007, my friends and I were hardcore into skating. I was around 13 years old at the time. My friends and I just started to get pretty good, which is what you'd expect considering we skated 24/7. I grew up with a single mother who worked 3 jobs to make ends meet, so I didn't really have much growing up besides my friends and a skateboard. It was my birthday early that summer. And one of my friend's parents, who essentially raised me, bought me a new skateboard, which meant a lot to me considering that it was all I got that year. In my neighborhood there was this curb that came in from the street and wrapped around a tree and dumped back onto the road. Once we figured out that we can grind around this, it was all we did if we weren't at the skate park or doing God knows what else. Well, the problem with this curb is that it was in front of the neighbor's house who was known across the neighborhood as being the typical annoying, nosy and complaining sack of potatoes. Anyways, one day my friends and I are skating the curb as we did nearly every day that summer. But this time he came out and confronted my friends. Unfortunately for me, I didn't see him and I was coming flying in to hit the curb. In the last second, I see him and bail from the curb, and my board landed right in front of him. And with one fell swoop, he planted his foot directly through my board, and just like that, my birthday gift was broken. Fast forward 3 years. I have a new stepdad who made life that much better, and I actually started to have a relationship with my mother and him. During that summer, I was helping my stepdad in his car garage, helping fix and service cars and a bunch of stuff. Then one day, the man who broke my board came in and needed help with his car. As soon as he saw me, he reminded me about what he did to my board, in a joking-like fashion, like what he did was funny. My neighbor came in, saying that his brakes keep making squeaking noises. He demanded, quite rudely if I'm honest, that we fix it instantly, saying that I want my car to be in tip-top shape, do whatever you have to do. Then he smirked at me and said, I can afford it. My stepdad said we were swamped and that he will call him when it's ready. He eventually sighed and said some crude remark as he stormed out, leaving the car. I told my stepdad that I will look at the car. As it turns out, all he needed was a simple oil change. But here is where the malicious compliance kicks in. It did occur to me that he said he wanted his car in tip-top shape and that he could afford it. I noticed that, well, he would certainly want some brand new filters. And while we are at it, let's replace the battery and maybe the whole brake system as well. It's important to note that even though we didn't live in a rich area, this man had quite a bravado about him and would constantly flex his seemingly minimal wealth upon everyone he could. I ended up raking up close to $2,000 worth of parts and was quite pleased with myself. Fast forward to the end of the day. My father had left and I was going to lock the shop up, and my neighbor came to collect. I gave him the bill and he looks in anger and disbelief, asking why I replaced the battery and brakes and whatnot. I replied simply with, you said tip-top shape, you could afford it. He then begrudgingly agreed and paid his bill. Did he break a maybe $50 skateboard? Yes. Did I rack up pointless replacements on perfectly fine parts that we later reused? Yes. The third story is called The Power of the Assistant. The company I was working for had a fair amount of people that traveled almost exclusively. So while it was a fairly small company and maybe 100 people on staff across everyone, I'd guess we would have about 12 to 15k nights in a hotel and over 1 million flight miles per year. That worked out quite well for everyone because they racked up a lot of rewards with hotels and airlines, so their vacations ended up costing them basically nothing. In addition to that, the company's policy was that you booked and paid for all your travel and then submitted a request to get reimbursed. So quite a lot of people were also getting insane rewards from their credit card companies as well. It was considered a perk of the job, even to the point that HR would mention it when recruiting people. And it helped people put up with some of the other BS policies they didn't like. Enter a new controller. Let's call her Karen. Karen decides that the company is losing money and implements a new reimbursement system where everyone gets company cards that they use, so the company gets all the credit card rewards. On top of this, they also partner with a travel agency that everyone has to use to book their flights, hotels and rental cars. The idea is that since all the bookings are now in the company's name, the company gets to keep all the rewards. This is all great for the company, but it is bad for all the employees because this had formerly been one of the top perks. It's like each employee got a several $1,000 pay decrease. Cue malicious compliance. I expect our CEO was like a lot of CEOs in that he had an assistant that booked all of his travel and just sent him a travel route so he knew what flight to get on, where to pick up his rental and what hotel to check in. Similarly, when things don't go his way, he's not one for wanting the details. He just wants it fixed ASAP. So the admin assistant started following the procedures to the letter. The CEO ends up getting stuck with crappy cars, crappy hotel rooms and stuck in coach class because the system either has limits on what choices can be made or wants to use reward points to book. And you can't use those types of rewards for the flights, hotels, etc. that he's used to. Additionally, when he'd run into problems, he'd call his assistant and she'd tell him she would have to call the travel agent to see what's wrong. And this would invariably occur outside business hours, so it would take a day to get an answer. If memory serves, that policy change lasted all of 30 days before the CEO walked into the controller's office and directed that everything should be put back exactly the way that it was. After that, I know of at least a handful of people that ended up taking the CEO's assistant out for dinner and drinks as a thank you for helping to get things back to normal. The last story is called "He Told Me to Do It, So I Did." This happened a few years back. I was doing a type of program where I was doing gardening and cleaning at a type of reserve. It had a decent sized bilby enclosure. I live in Australia. But it also did programs for special need kids, host a small farmers market once in a while, and night walks for the bilbies. When I was there, the managers were pretty chill people, a married couple if I recall correctly. But they are not the main point of this. Tony is. Tony was pretty much a glorified accountant, but would roam the property like he owned the place. He would bully, micromanage, and would never be satisfied with anything we did, for it was not to his standards. Yeah, he was a prick. We did ask the managers what we should do with Tony. They just replied, just nod and do what he says. I took that to heart. One day, Tony was being a major jerk and for whatever reason targeted me, like what he would normally do, but overcharged. I was cleaning in the hall area when Tony came in. His eyes fixed me. He goes off the deep end, telling me how I am just doing everything wrong and proceeded to tell me all the ways I was screwing up. It's a broom. How many steps are there? I just let him go. He's sounding more and more like the stuck-up prick that he is. Christ, if you can't do this right, you should just go home. Malicious compliance time. I'm sorry, Tony. I get right on that. Yeah, you better. I left the hall, put the broom in storage, grabbed my stuff and walked out. 1 hour before we go home. And it takes me half an hour to get home. When I got to my front door, I get a call. Surprise, surprise, it's the manager. Hey, where are you? I'm home. What? Why? Tony told me to go home, so I did. But he has no authority over you. Oh, I know, but you told me to do what he said, so I am. There's a pause. Can you get back here? It takes me half an hour to get back up there, and considering what time it is, there's no point. Another pause. I see. See you next week, manager. I hang up. I did get told off for leaving early without telling them, but they also told me that I will no longer have to take orders from Tony anymore. I did get the worst jobs on that day, but when I saw Tony and he saw me, he quickly looked away and booked it. Totally worth it. We never had a problem with him after that. Thanks for watching the video. If you had fun watching the video, please subscribe to the channel for more content. And please let me know what you think about the video in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.